كتاب الله لا شيء سواه يهذبنا العمل به كتاب الله لا شيء سواه يهذبنا هذا القرآن يوحدنا لطريق الخير يوجهنا الله تعالى أنزله ورسول الله معلمنا رسول الله معلمنا.
What it says of the creation of Adam, what it says of the creation of Isa, is what it says of the creation of every man. We're made of the same things. Allah says a word, there we are. The details, how that happens, that's His business, not ours, unless He had spelled it out somehow. Just leave Him with that. There's a lot of things of that nature, whether you're talking about crucifixion or creation or the conception of Jesus or whatever. We shouldn't step past what the Quran says. We may have a pretty good idea. The indication may be very sound that you suspect it's like this, but if it doesn't say so, leave it. Probably you're right. Don't make it. It's what Ismail Faruqi, an American writer in Philadelphia, has called Israelitisms, that Muslims have very often fallen into the trap of they read something in the Quran and the details are not specific, so they say, well, what did the Jews believe? Oh, well, that must be what it is. And they fill in the details from what he called Israelitisms. They take them from here. The Quran says that one was made from the other. Oh, it's a rib from Adam, yes, and they carry this over, and that's what we should be aware of doing. Okay? Yes?
I think coming on what we've been saying tonight is that the Muslim response in any discussion with Christians comes down to lines on logic. A logical approach. And what I really want to say is that the experiences that I've had talking with Christians and adopting a logical approach is that quite often you realise that the particular person that you're talking to is accepting the logic of what you say, but it's not causing any change in attitude on their part. That may seem like a contradiction, but what I mean is that they accept the logicality of what you say, but their position is such, and it has been such for so long, that they are unable, despite the logic of what you say, to shift their position. I've found this in discussions I've had with people that I know very well, my family, for example, and close friends, and I know that they are accepting the logic, the logic of what I'm saying, but they are unable because of like conditioning, their upbringing, because they are relying on the resources that you talked about earlier. They are unable to get feelings, for example, using their feelings as the yardstick, or the concept of mystery, the attitude towards mystery in relation to truth, but they are unable to accept that logic.
Oh yes, yeah, very much so. That is what. But that of course is what has to be identified as a problem to them, if you can. And that's I know Muslims very often meet foreign students in the U.S. and Canada. They become so frustrated with discussions they have with people. They say, "I show him how this doesn't make sense, and he smiles because he says, 'Yes, I know.'" Isn't it wonderful? He's been conditioned that it shouldn't make sense. That idea that's how religion is supposed to work. what you have to point out to them, if at all possible, is what they're doing. You know, to not only reason with them, but point out to them, so why is it you don't respond? Have you ever wondered that? Why don't you respond? Why doesn't it move you to action? Because under any other circumstance, if any other subject was under discussion, you would move to action. You would correct yourself. So maybe they re-examine their motives. I think that occurred to me the other day in doing some recording here. That exactly parallels the activity of Muslims down through the centuries. That their message has always been to people, you shouldn't be satisfied with what you have. You deserve better. And in kindness, you're trying to tell a man, look at yourself. Aren't you ashamed? I mean, you know, in one way or another, aren't you embarrassed? We were trying to think, some of us the other day, and maybe somebody here remembers the name of the idol worshiper in Medina, back just after Hijrah, that some boys used to come and steal his idol every night, and he got so fed up with going to find the idol the next morning, and one night he put the sword in front of the idol. He said, when they come for you tonight, defend yourself. And the next morning his idol was gone. And he found it in a garbage pit tied around the neck of a dog. So he was down on his stomach, reaching down the garbage pit, trying to untie his idol from the neck of the dog, and one of the Muslims came by and saw him down there and called him by name, which name I can't remember, and said to him, look at yourself. Down in the garbage, getting your God away from the dirt. Don't you deserve better than that? You're a man. Aren't you worthy of more than that? You can exactly parallel that kind of thing if you're, I would hope, gently but firmly, to show people that thing, that telling them you've become satisfied with something that you shouldn't be satisfied with. You deserve better than that. And what had occurred to me the other day was of how it reminded me of that story of how it said that they used to find Omar from time to time. Muslims would find him all by himself and he'd be laughing. And ask him, what's so funny? He'd say, I was just remembering how when I was ignorant, I used to make an idol out of dates, and I'd worship it, and then I'd eat it. You see, at some point in his life, that mind had to look once more new at everything again. Just what he had taken for granted and done for a long time, suddenly it was like he closed his eyes and he looked again and saw the value of it. So I guess it's that kind of shock therapy that you're trying to do to people, to tell them that you've got all my argument down cold. Now, if you just blink once and look again, shouldn't it surprise you? Can't you step outside of your familiar mode of behavior? In fact, there's one person that observed, and I think it's a valid comment. He said, usually when people think, they travel along the well-worn paths, that is, the familiar highways. They're used to thinking in a certain way, so no matter what you give them, even if it's something you never heard of before, they're determined to bend it until it fits on their usual way of thinking, and then they carry on where they were. They don't try and explore new territory. You tell them, over there where you never looked before is something surprising, and they'll try and bring it over here somehow. It's a human failing. Well, I say, in one way or another, a person has to somehow shock people into being objective. That was the point of that story of the man saying, I just heard the news that the angel, Jibril has died. And people laugh at that until you said, but look, that's worse than what you said a minute ago. You said God died. So somehow you've made him see once more what he's quite familiar with, but he looked at it with a new perspective. Which is,